going to be looking at, this is all the peak 1A to 5D. So it starts with that basic eye contact and then moves through the skills. So in eye contact, hand still, whatever program you're using, it always is going to show a goal, like why we're doing this, what you need, instructions, and then typical stimuli to use down here. So we are going to focus on something a little more difficult of the model play. So again, the goal, when you shown an action, use the participant, learner, patient, all the same interchangeable words in this case. So the patient will imitate simple actions with objects. What you need are bricks, blocks, tiles, puzzle pieces, cars. If they have a preferred item, say they bring in a transformer and they want to move the parts. So the instructions is to do the action with the toy and then tell the participant to do the same. So I've pre-filled in some of these stimulus here so that we can learn how to do the response data. Down here is the date it's introduced. So if we started this particular date, 12/4/24, that's the date the program was introduced, and then this is for the mastery, when the patient has mastered the skill. And down here is our cheat sheet for our data sheets. So we're going to do stack blocks. So say we brought in wooden blocks and we stack the blocks and then we tell the patient do the same. And then that gets us to our program data sheet. So this one's for direct training. Generalization is listed on the top of its generalization. We want the patient's name, the program, and then we're going to do the corresponding programming with the stimulus. So our first one was stack blocks. So that's number 1. As I said, it matches up with what's on here, stack blocks. And say John was not able to do the same. And we were given another prompt where we showed again how to stack the blocks, and then we put them together and said do the same. And this time John was able to do so. And then we had brought in puzzle pieces to put together for the next activity. So we put number 2 to the corresponding stimulus, and we run through the series. We put the puzzle pieces together and say do the same, and John is unable to. So then we moved on to the next one. Again, you put the pieces together and say do the same, and if John's still unable, this is where it drops down to here. So this might be where the error correction comes in, and you might want to hand over hand show John how to put those pieces together. And let's say this time John is able to, with being hands-on about showing. So that would bring us down to that 2. So we're going to continue to go back and forth, and everybody brings different items. So this is why this is open like this. So then you can put your corresponding items of what you brought that day to make it fit with the program. So just about any item can fit with doing that modeled play. So again, we're going to make sure number 3, roll the car. That's going to correspond here. Let's say you rolled the car and John did it immediately. You didn't have to say do the same. That's a 10. And we run through our other trials with our other stimulus here. You gotta throw the ball, feed the baby, put puzzle pieces together, move game piece. This one was no prompt was given. You just imitated, and right away, patient was able to do that. Here, I would try to specify still what your task was. So if it was no prompt given and it was, maybe this is something, again, we roll the car. So if there was no prompt, I still want to know the action, as well as the other autism text, so then they know, hey, this one, John's got down. So we're going to roll through them. Most of the time, we're unable to complete 10 trials in a session, especially if the session is only an hour. So what we've been doing is we've been drawing a line. So let's say I did 1, 2, 3. I'm going to draw a line there. I'm going to put my initials and the date here to show that this was my set of data. And then maybe Heaven comes in next, and 4, 5, 6, she'll draw a line, write her initials and the date here. This lets us know who was with the patient and how many trials were run at each session, depending on those times. So all this has been completed. As you can see, I already added it, but we're going to pretend that it's not. So only Tech 3s and the clinician or BCBA should be doing the scoring on these. So then they can write the date of the scoring and their initials on here, because they're going to be the ones who's tracking if this program's mastered or not. With PEAK, direct training or generalizations is 90% across 30 trials. So as you can see here, John did not hit that. It says 74. Here I threw out a number of 84, still has not mastered even 10 trials. So we're going to keep going until we get those 30. So if this is 90, this one's 95, and this one's 98, then that would go back to the Tech 3 or the BCBA or the clinician. We'll go back here and then write that mastery date in there once the data has been completed. I want to point out here, it's important to know what stimulus is with the score. Because as you can see here, 2 and 6, those are when the puzzle pieces were put together. Unfortunately, we didn't know how many puzzle pieces those puzzles were. So that was actually relevant to know that. So then we can go back and look at and write in our weekly notes puzzle pieces, and then we can put question of how many pieces in the puzzle, and then write please add. So then you can see over here, number 11, I already put in here, it's a 300 puzzle piece. Because size matters. If it's 500, the pieces are smaller. If it's 300, the pieces are slightly larger, and 100 even larger, and then the cardboard cutouts are obviously much larger. So here, John did a 300 piece puzzle, number 11. Did a little better with it, but still struggling. So it's important to note those details. And then here on 13, we put a 100 piece puzzle to try. And then we go to corresponding stimulus, and John did a lot better with that. So sticking with those 100 pieces, 200 piece, and then working our way up to the skill is important for the text to know too. We're trying to get in those fine motor skills and imitation skills in there. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. So when you're writing your documentation, if you did the 3 sessions, let's say I did those 3 sessions, and I had an 8, a 2, and a 10. So right now I'm at 20 out of 1, 2, 3 sessions, or 3 trials. So it'd be 20 out of 30, which is 67%. So we would write the 20 out of 30, 67% in our note for stacking blocks, putting puzzle pieces together, and rolling the car for this one program. This is why PEAK typically does not run more than 5 programs at a time, because it is a little more tedious, but you have all the information here. If there's any questions, let your Tech 3 know, or reach out to me via email or in person. I can help alleviate some of the questions.